The receiver. Introduction. Have you ever noticed that the most beautiful things in your life arrived when you stopped desperately chasing them? That your best job opportunity appeared when you were no longer anxiously searching? That true love manifested just when you had made peace with being alone? There exists a secret that spiritual masters throughout the ages have known but rarely taught directly: the art of conscious receiving. This isn't about sitting around waiting for things to fall from the sky, but about cultivating an internal state so magnetic, so aligned, that life cannot help but respond to you with abundance. In the ancient temples of Egypt, priests didn't pray asking, they decreed from certainty. In Tibetan monasteries, masters didn't seek enlightenment, they aligned with it until it became inevitable. In the Greek mystery schools, initiates didn't struggle for wisdom, they became worthy vessels to receive it. They all knew something the modern world has forgotten, that there's a fundamental difference between wanting from lack and receiving from wholeness, a difference that changes absolutely everything. If you've ever felt like you're swimming upstream in life, working harder than everyone else but getting less, if you've noticed that some people seem to attract opportunities effortlessly while you exhaust yourself chasing them, if you suspect there's a hidden law of manifestation that nobody taught you, then what I'm about to share will finally explain why. For centuries, humanity has believed that to obtain something valuable, we must fight for it. Work harder, push stronger, insist with greater intensity. But the great receivers of history, those who manifested miracles, attracted abundance effortlessly, and lived in constant flow of synchronicities, operated from a completely different paradigm. They understood that the universe doesn't respond to force, but to frequency. Not to what you do, but to what you are. Not to how much you push from the outside, but to how receptive you become from within. This principle transcends cultures and eras. Hawaiian kahunas called it ho'oponopono, cleansing consciousness to allow good to flow. Vedic sages knew it as Ishvara Pranidhana, surrender that paradoxically grants absolute power. Sufi mystics described it as fana, ego dissolution that allows the divine to act through you. But here's the revelation that will change your life. You don't need to study for decades or retreat to a cave to master this art. The fundamental principles of conscious receiving can be activated immediately because they're already encoded in the very structure of your being. Your soul already knows how to do this. Your heart already knows this frequency. Your energy already has the capacity to become magnetic. You just need to remember how to access it and get out of your own way to allow it to happen. The ancient masters discovered that there are specific internal states, energy signatures, and consciousness practices that turn human beings into natural receivers. When you embody these states, manifestation becomes as natural as breathing. Opportunities flow to you. Resources appear. The right people show up at the right time, not because you've manipulated reality, but because you've aligned with how reality actually works. How do we know this works? Look at history's greatest manifestors. Nikola Tesla didn't struggle for his inventions. He tuned into the frequency of the universe, and ideas came to him like electrical downloads. Beethoven didn't force his symphonies. He became a channel for cosmic music to flow through him. Great spiritual leaders didn't conquer hearts with arguments. They became living magnets for the truth they represented. What mystics long understood is now being confirmed by neurobiology. Peak performance occurs when we stop attempting to control and start allowing, according to studies on flow states. According to studies on the reticular activating system, our inward concentration literally alters reality. Consciousness has a fundamental impact on matter, as quantum physics shows, but perhaps most compelling is the evidence in your own life. Think of the times when everything fell into place effortlessly, when you were in the zone and everything you touched turned to gold, when you felt completely aligned and the world seemed to conspire in your favor. Those weren't accidents. They were glimpses of your natural state as a conscious receiver. The problem isn't that you lack the ability to manifest. The problem is that you've been taught to manifest from the wrong state of consciousness, from need, fear, and force, instead of from wholeness, trust, and magnetic receptivity. In the next hour, I'm going to take you through the complete transformation from desperate seeker to magnetic receiver. You'll discover the 7 core principles that turn ordinary people into manifestation masters. You'll learn practical techniques used in ancient mystery schools to align with abundance. Most importantly, you'll activate the dormant receivers within your own consciousness. By the end of our time together, you'll know exactly how to shift from pushing energy to pulling energy, from chasing to attracting, from working harder to working with the fundamental forces of creation. You'll have a toolkit of practices that turn manifestation from struggle into flow. So settle in, open your mind, and prepare to remember what every cell of your being already knows. You were born to receive abundance, and the universe is waiting for you to claim it. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Frequency of Worthiness. Close your eyes and imagine walking into a 5-star restaurant dressed in rags, feeling unworthy, apologizing for your existence. Now imagine walking into that same restaurant dressed impeccably, feeling completely deserving, expecting excellent service. The restaurant is the same, but your experience will be completely different. Why? Because the universe responds to your frequency of worthiness. Most people approach manifestation like the first scenario, feeling unworthy of what they want, apologizing to the universe for their desires, hoping that maybe, if they work hard enough, they might deserve a small portion of what they're asking for. But masters of receiving operate from the second frequency. They know they are inherently worthy of abundance because they understand their true nature. Worthiness isn't something you earn through achievement or good behavior. It's your default setting as a conscious being. The ancient mystery schools taught that every human soul is a unique expression of divine consciousness, which means abundance is your birthright, not your reward. But here's where most people get stuck. They confuse ego-worthiness with soul-worthiness. Ego-worthiness is conditional. It says, I'm worthy because I'm successful, good, smart, or special. Soul-worthiness is unconditional. It says, I'm worthy because I exist as conscious awareness expressing itself through this human form. When you operate from ego-worthiness, you're always proving, always earning, always justifying your desires. Your energy is scattered and needy. When you operate from soul-worthiness, you're simply being, simply receiving, simply allowing your natural abundance to express itself. Your energy becomes magnetic and irresistible. The frequency of worthiness has a specific energetic signature. It feels like deep okayness with yourself and your desires. It's the inner knowing that you don't need to apologize for wanting what you want or for taking up space in the universe. It's the quiet confidence that what's meant for you cannot miss you, and what's not meant for you cannot stick to you. Study anyone who attracts abundance effortlessly, and you'll find this frequency of worthiness operating in them. They don't question whether they deserve good things, they expect them. They don't justify their desires, they honor them. They don't shrink to make others comfortable. They shine and give others permission to shine too. Oprah Winfrey spoke often about the moment she stopped asking, why me, when good things happened and started asking, why not me? That shift from unworthiness to worthiness transformed her from a struggling TV host to a global force of nature. Scientific research supports this principle. Studies on imposter syndrome show that people who feel worthy of their position perform better and attract more opportunities than equally qualified people who feel unworthy. Research on self-concept reveals that how you see yourself determines not just how you show up in the world, but how the world responds to you. Even more fascinating are studies on what psychologists call deserving cognition. People who believe they deserve good outcomes not only work more effectively toward their goals, but also notice and seize opportunities that others miss. Their brains literally tune into different information because their internal frequency has changed. Here's how to activate the frequency of worthiness immediately. The worthiness declaration practice. Each morning, place your hand on your heart and say, I am worthy of abundance, not because of what I do, but because of what I am. I am a unique expression of infinite consciousness, and my desires are the universe's way of expressing itself through me. The Unapologetic Desire Inventory. Write down everything you want without justifying why you want it or how you'll use it for good. Practice wanting without shame. Your desires aren't selfish. They're your soul's blueprint for expansion. The receiving posture. Throughout your day, notice when you're energetically pushing, proving, or apologizing. Instead, drop into your heart, breathe deeply, and ask, what would it feel like to receive this effortlessly? Then embody that feeling. When you establish this frequency of worthiness as your baseline, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing and start attracting. But worthiness alone isn't enough. You need to pair it with something equally powerful, the art of energetic non-attachment. And that's where most people who understand worthiness still get stuck. Chapter 2. The Paradox of Detachment. Here's the cosmic joke that confuses most people on the spiritual path. The more desperately you want something, the more it eludes you. The more you need it to happen, the more it doesn't. The more you attach your happiness to getting it, the more miserable you become. It's like trying to catch a butterfly by chasing it with a net. The harder you try, the more it flies away. But when you sit peacefully in a garden, genuinely absorbed in reading a book, the butterfly lands on your shoulder without effort. This isn't just a pretty metaphor. It's the fundamental law of manifestation that ancient masters discovered thousands of years ago. True detachment isn't about not caring or suppressing your desires. It's about holding your desires lightly while remaining unattached to the outcome. It's the difference between wanting something because you love it versus needing something because you feel incomplete without it. When you need something to happen, you're operating from lack. Your energy becomes grasping, desperate, clingy. The universe feels this frequency and responds by keeping that thing just out of reach, because universal intelligence knows that giving you something from a needy state will only reinforce the pattern of neediness. When you want something from wholeness, you're operating from abundance. Your energy becomes magnetic, relaxed, and confident. You're genuinely excited about the possibility, but equally okay if it doesn't happen exactly as you envision. This frequency tells the universe, I trust your timing and your wisdom, which opens the floodgates of possibility. The paradox is that when you truly don't need something to happen, it usually happens quickly and easily. When you're desperately attached to a specific outcome, it either doesn't happen at all, or it happens in a way that creates more problems than it solves. This doesn't mean becoming passive or indifferent. It means becoming what the Taoists call wu wei, effortless action. You take inspired steps toward your desires while remaining unattached to how and when they manifest. Every master manifestor throughout history has exhibited this principle. The Buddha taught that attachment is the foundation of suffering, and liberation comes by letting go. Jesus spoke about giving up your life to find it. Lao Tzu spoke about accomplishing everything by doing nothing. In the business world, entrepreneurs who are too attached to one specific idea often fail, while those who remain flexible and open to how their vision might evolve tend to succeed beyond their wildest dreams. Richard Branson has spoken about how his greatest successes came when he stopped trying to force outcomes and started following his enthusiasm with detachment from results. Modern psychology validates this through research on paradoxical intention. Studies show that people who try too hard to fall asleep stay awake longer, while those who don't care whether they sleep often fall asleep immediately. People who desperately try to make others like them often repel others, while those who are genuinely themselves without attachment to approval naturally attract authentic relationships. Neuroscience explains why this works. When you're attached to an outcome, your brain activates stress responses that narrow your perception and make you miss opportunities. When you're detached, your brain enters a relaxed, alert state that notices possibilities everywhere. Perhaps most convincingly, you can verify this in your own experience. Think of the times when you got exactly what you wanted effortlessly. You'll almost always find that you were in a state of relaxed confidence rather than desperate attachment. Here's how to master the paradox of detachment, the release ritual. When you catch yourself gripping tightly to a desired outcome, physically open your hands and say, I release this desire to the highest good. If it's meant for me, it will come easily. If something better is waiting, I'm open to receiving it. The multiple scenario practice. For any goal you're attached to, imagine 3 different ways it could unfold, including some you haven't considered. This expands your mental flexibility and reduces attachment to one specific path. The gratitude. Flip. When you notice yourself feeling desperate about something you want, immediately list 3 things you're grateful for in your current reality. This shifts you from lack consciousness to abundance consciousness instantly. When you master detachment, you discover something profound. You can desire passionately while remaining peacefully unattached. But even this isn't enough to become a true receiver. There's a third element that most people never learn, the art of inspired action. And this is where the magic really begins. Chapter 3. The flow of inspired action. Imagine you're in a river. You can either swim frantically against the current, exhausting yourself while barely moving forward. You can float passively and let the current take you wherever it wants, which might not be where you want to go. Or you can learn to read the river, feel its natural flow, and make subtle adjustments that work with the current to guide you exactly where you want to be with minimal effort. That third option is inspired action, the art of moving in harmony with the natural flow of life while still directing your course. It's how masters of manifestation accomplish extraordinary things while appearing to barely try. Most people operate from one of 2 extremes, force or passivity. Force is taking massive action from willpower, grinding toward your goals regardless of how you feel or what signals you're receiving from life. Passivity is waiting for motivation, hoping things will magically improve without any effort on your part. Inspired action is the middle way. It's taking action that feels aligned, energizing, and natural. It comes from listening to your inner guidance system rather than following external strategies or pushing through resistance. Here's how to recognize inspired action. It feels good in your body. It energizes rather than drains you. It creates momentum that builds on itself, and it often leads to unexpected opportunities and synchronicities. When you're in inspired action, you're not working harder. You're working with the intelligent forces of creation. Forced action, by contrast, feels heavy in your body. It drains your energy even when you're making progress. It requires constant willpower to maintain, and it tends to create obstacles and complications. You might achieve your goal through force, but the cost is usually higher than the reward. The key is learning to distinguish between inspired action and forced action in the moment. Inspired action feels like yes in your entire being. Forced action feels like I should, or I have to, or I need to push through this. Study any person who has achieved extraordinary success while maintaining their well-being, and you'll find they've mastered inspired action. Steve Jobs spoke about following your heart and intuition, because they somehow already know what you truly want to become. Oprah built her empire by following what felt authentic and exciting, rather than what business advisors told her she should do. Athletes in flow states describe this perfectly. They're taking intense action, but it feels effortless. They're not thinking about what to do next. They're responding instinctively to the moment. Their bodies and minds are perfectly coordinated with the natural intelligence of the game. Neuroscience shows that inspired action activates different brain networks than forced action. When you're in flow, your prefrontal cortex actually down-regulates. The part of your brain responsible for self-criticism and overthinking becomes quieter, allowing your intuitive wisdom to guide your actions. Research on intrinsic motivation demonstrates that people who are internally motivated outperform those who are externally motivated in almost every measurable way. They're more creative, more persistent, more innovative, and report higher levels of satisfaction with their work. Studies on decision-making reveal that people who go with their gut often make better choices than those who analyze every option rationally. Your unconscious mind processes thousands of variables simultaneously and arrives at decisions faster and more accurately than your conscious mind can. Here's how to cultivate inspired action. The energy check practice. Before taking any significant action, pause and ask, does this feel expansive or contractive in my body? Inspired action feels expansive. Forced action feels contractive. Trust your body's wisdom. The next obvious step method. Instead of planning 10 steps ahead, ask, what's the next obvious step that feels good to take? Take that step, then ask again. This keeps you in the flow of inspiration rather than the trap of overthinking. The enthusiasm tracker. Notice what naturally energizes you throughout your day. What conversations light you up? What activities make time disappear? What problems do you enjoy solving? These are clues to your unique channels of inspired action. When you align worthiness, detachment, and inspired action, you become a force of nature. But there's still one crucial element missing. The element that turns individual receivers into manifestation magnets, who can create miracles not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. This is the secret of energetic coherence. Chapter 4. The Field of Coherent Intention. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt the vibe? Maybe it was a tense business meeting where everyone was pretending to be polite, or a celebration where joy was so thick you could practically touch it. You were experiencing what scientists now call field effects, the invisible but measurable influence that human consciousness has on its environment. Now imagine if you could consciously create such a powerful field around yourself that everyone who enters your presence feels uplifted, inspired, and more connected to their own possibilities. Imagine if your very being became a broadcast station for abundance, love, and creative potential. This isn't fantasy, it's the natural result of energetic coherence. Energetic coherence happens when your thoughts, emotions, intentions, and actions are all aligned and moving in the same direction. Instead of your energy being scattered across conflicting desires and doubts, it becomes focused like a laser beam. This creates what quantum physicists call a coherent field, an invisible but powerful influence that affects everything around you. Most people live in energetic chaos. They want success but feel unworthy. They desire love but emit fear. They think positive thoughts but feel negative emotions. They set intentions but take contradictory actions. This scattered energy creates weak, inconsistent results. When you achieve energetic coherence, several things happen simultaneously. Your manifestation speed increases dramatically because all your energy is moving toward the same outcome. Your influence on others becomes magnetic because people feel the clarity and power of your aligned field. Synchronicities increase because your coherent intention creates what scientists call meaningful coincidences, events that are connected through your consciousness rather than through obvious causation. You become what the ancient texts call a light unto the world, not through preaching or teaching, but simply by embodying such clear, coherent intention that others remember their own power just by being near you. The most advanced manifestors in history understood this principle. They didn't just want things for themselves. They held such powerful fields of positive intention that entire communities were uplifted by their presence. The Global Consciousness Project at Princeton University has documented how collective human consciousness affects random number generators around the world. During moments of global coherence, like shared meditation events or collective prayer, these machines show statistical patterns that should be impossible by chance alone. Studies on HeartMath Institute's research show that when individuals achieve heart-brain coherence through specific practices, it affects the electromagnetic field around their body in measurable ways. People near someone in coherence often synchronize their heart rhythms unconsciously. Research on group meditation demonstrates that when even a small percentage of a population practices coherent intention together, crime rates drop, hospital admissions decrease, and overall social harmony increases in the surrounding area. This Maharishi effect has been replicated in dozens of studies across different cultures. In business, leaders who embody coherent intention don't just get better results, they elevate the performance of everyone around them. Their teams become more creative, more collaborative, and more resilient under stress. The leader's coherent field literally entrains others into higher states of consciousness. Historical examples abound. Gandhi's coherent intention for independence affected millions of people despite his having no official political power. Martin Luther King Jr.'s field of coherent love and justice transformed a nation's consciousness. Mother Teresa's coherent compassion created a global network of service that continues decades after her death. Here's how to develop energetic coherence. The alignment practice. Each morning, take 5 minutes to align your 4 levels. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What do I intend? How will I act? Make sure these 4 elements are pointing in the same direction. The coherence breath. Place one hand on your heart, one on your solar plexus. Breathe slowly and imagine sending appreciation from your heart to your solar plexus with each exhale. This creates heart-brain coherence, the foundation of energetic coherence. The field check. Throughout your day, notice the energy you're broadcasting. Ask, if everyone around me caught my current state of consciousness like a contagious disease, would the world be better or worse? Adjust accordingly. When you master energetic coherence, you discover something profound. Manifestation isn't just about getting what you want. It's about becoming someone whose very presence elevates the world. But to sustain this level of coherent intention, you need to understand the cycles of receptivity, because even the greatest receivers know when to act and when to rest. Chapter 5. The Seasons of Receiving. Nature doesn't try to grow fruit in winter or hibernate in summer. Trees don't feel guilty for being dormant in the cold months, nor do they apologize for their explosive growth in spring. They understand something that humans have forgotten. There are natural seasons for receiving, and seasons for integrating, seasons for action, and seasons for rest. Most people fight against their natural rhythms, trying to be productive and manifestation-focused 24/7. They burn out, force results, and wonder why their receiving capacity diminishes over time. But master receivers know that honoring the seasons of consciousness actually amplifies their manifestation power exponentially. Your consciousness moves through predictable cycles just like nature. There are times when you're naturally open, expansive, and ready to receive. These are your spring periods, when intentions plant easily and manifest quickly. There are times when you're in full creative flow, taking inspired action and seeing rapid results. These are your summer periods of manifestation. There are also times when you're meant to harvest and integrate what you've received. These are your autumn periods of gratitude and consolidation. And there are times when you're meant to go inward, rest, and prepare for the next cycle. These are your winter periods of reflection and renewal. The mistake most people make is trying to stay in permanent spring and summer. They exhaust their receiving capacity by never taking time to integrate. They burn out their manifestation abilities by never allowing for rest and renewal. Master receivers understand that winter periods aren't failures. They're essential preparation phases. When you honor your need for rest and integration, you return to your next spring period with exponentially more power and clarity. These cycles operate on multiple timescales: daily, morning expansion, evening integration, weekly, monthly, especially for women connected to lunar cycles, seasonally, and in larger life cycles. Learning to read and honor your personal rhythms transforms manifestation from struggle into natural flow. Ancient wisdom traditions understood these cycles intimately. Hindu scriptures describe the 4 yugas, vast cycles of consciousness that govern manifestation. Chinese medicine is based on recognizing and working with natural energy cycles. Indigenous cultures worldwide planned their most important activities around natural rhythms. Modern chronobiology validates these ancient insights. Research shows that human hormone levels, creativity, decision-making ability, and even pain tolerance fluctuate in predictable cycles throughout the day, month, and year. People who align their important activities with their natural rhythms achieve better results with less effort. Studies on ultradian rhythms reveal that our brains naturally cycle between high focus and rest every 90–120 minutes. People who honor these cycles by taking short breaks maintain peak performance much longer than those who try to power through. Women's creativity and manifestation abilities fluctuate with their menstrual cycles in measurable ways. Research shows that women are naturally more receptive and intuitive during certain phases and more action-oriented during others. Those who track and honor these cycles report dramatically improved results in all areas of life. Seasonal affective disorder research demonstrates that humans are profoundly affected by natural light cycles. But rather than seeing this as a disorder, master receivers recognize it as information about when to focus on different types of activities. Here's how to work with your natural seasons. The energy tracking practice. For 1 month, rate your energy and receptivity levels each morning on a 1-10 scale. Notice patterns. When do you naturally feel most open to receiving? When do you feel most called to action? When do you crave integration time? The seasonal approach. Align your manifestation activities with your energy cycles. Plant new intentions during your high energy phases. Take inspired action during your flow phases. Practice gratitude and integration during your reflective phases. Rest and plan during your low energy phases. The permission practice. Give yourself explicit permission to have down cycles without judging them as lazy or unproductive. Remind yourself, this is my natural winter period. I'm gathering energy for my next spring. When you start living in harmony with your natural seasons, you discover something remarkable. You can accomplish more in your aligned action periods than you ever did trying to force consistent productivity. But there's one more secret that amplifies everything we've covered: the practice of becoming a beneficial presence. Chapter 6. The beneficial presence. There are people who walk into a room and everyone feels lighter, more hopeful, more connected to their own possibilities. There are others who enter the same room and everyone feels drained, anxious, or somehow smaller. The difference isn't in what they say or do, it's in the quality of presence they bring. What if I told you that becoming a beneficial presence is not only the most powerful manifestation technique ever discovered, but also the ultimate expression of human consciousness? That's when you master this art. You don't just receive what you want, you become a source of receiving for everyone around you. A beneficial presence is someone whose very being uplifts the consciousness of others. They don't have to try to inspire or motivate. Their aligned energy field naturally elevates whatever environment they enter. They become what spiritual traditions call a blessing, a living transmission of positive potential. This happens through what scientists call neurological entrainment. When you embody states of coherence, gratitude, and genuine well-being, others unconsciously synchronize with your brainwave patterns. You literally lift others into higher states of consciousness just by being authentically yourself at your best. But here's the profound secret. The universe responds to beneficial presences with extraordinary generosity. When your existence genuinely contributes to the well-being of others, life conspires to support you in ways that seem miraculous. Opportunities appear from nowhere. Resources flow abundantly. The right people show up at the perfect times. This isn't karma or cosmic payback. It's the natural result of aligning with the fundamental creative principle of existence. The universe is inherently generous and life-supporting. When you embody that same quality, you become a conscious collaborator with the creative force that births galaxies and grows flowers. Becoming a beneficial presence doesn't require perfection or sainthood. It simply requires authenticity, genuine care for others' well-being, and the willingness to share your gifts freely without attachment to return. Throughout history, people who embodied beneficial presence attracted abundance beyond all logical explanation. Despite taking vows of poverty, spiritual figures like Francis of Assisi and Mother Teresa had unlimited resources to accomplish their missions. Despite having no traditional business training, people like Oprah Winfrey and Richard Branson built empires by genuinely caring about uplifting others. Research on Helpers High shows that people who genuinely contribute to others' well-being experience measurable improvements in their own health, happiness, and life satisfaction. Studies on altruism reveal that generous people live longer, have stronger immune systems, and report higher levels of fulfillment. Neuroscience research on mirror neurons explains how beneficial presence works. When others observe genuine kindness, generosity, or joy, their brains literally mirror those states. A single person in a coherent, positive state can shift the entire emotional tone of a group. Business research consistently shows that companies led by people who genuinely care about employee well-being outperform those focused purely on profit. Leaders who embody beneficial presence create cultures of trust, creativity, and engagement that translate directly into superior results. Studies on what psychologists call emotional contagion demonstrate that positive emotions spread through social networks much more rapidly than negative ones. One person embodying genuine well-being can positively influence hundreds of people through ripple effects. Perhaps most remarkably, research on the pay-it-forward phenomenon shows that single acts of kindness create chains of generosity that can affect thousands of people and continue for months. Here's how to cultivate beneficial presence. The contribution. Question. Before entering any interaction, ask yourself, how can my presence contribute to this person's situation? What gift can I bring that has nothing to do with what I might receive in return? Then embody that gift. The appreciation practice. Actively look for something genuine to appreciate in every person you encounter. This isn't flattery. It's training yourself to see the inherent worth in all beings. Your sincere appreciation becomes a gift that costs you nothing but transforms others. The energy gift. Throughout your day, consciously send good energy to people around you. In traffic, send patience and safety. In stores, send appreciation to workers. In conflicts, send compassion to all parties. You become a walking blessing. When you embody beneficial presence consistently, something extraordinary happens. Manifestation becomes effortless because you're no longer trying to get something from life. You're giving something to life, and life responds with overwhelming generosity. But to sustain this level of giving, you need to master the final principle, the art of receiving your own gifts. Chapter 7. Receiving Your Own Gifts. Here's the paradox that stops most generous people from becoming true masters of receiving. They're brilliant at giving to others, but terrible at receiving from life. They can see everyone else's worth clearly, but struggle to acknowledge their own value. They pour out endless energy supporting others, but feel guilty when others try to support them. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Most people with generous hearts have been programmed to believe that receiving is selfish, that they should be the givers rather than the receivers, that their worth comes from what they provide to others rather than from their inherent value as conscious beings. But here's what the masters knew. You can only give what you have. If you're not receiving the love, appreciation, support, and abundance that life wants to give you, you'll eventually burn out and have nothing left to offer others. Receiving your own gifts means acknowledging your inherent worth, allowing others to appreciate and support you, and accepting the abundance that life naturally wants to flow to you. It's not about becoming selfish, it's about becoming sustainably generous. Think of yourself as a spring of fresh water. If the spring only gives out water and never receives new water from underground sources, it eventually runs dry and can't serve anyone. But when the spring stays connected to its natural sources of replenishment, it can flow endlessly, nourishing everything around it. Your natural sources of replenishment include genuine appreciation for your unique gifts, celebration of your accomplishments, acceptance of help and support from others, acknowledgement of your positive impact, and permission to enjoy the fruits of your generosity. Many people resist receiving because they've been taught that it creates obligation or debt. But true receiving creates flow, not debt. When you graciously receive someone's gift, you honor both the giver and the gift. You complete a circuit of energy that allows more gifts to flow through you to others. The most powerful receivers understand that their ability to receive gracefully is actually a gift to others. When you let someone help you, you give them the joy of contribution. When you accept appreciation, you validate the giver's ability to see and acknowledge worth. When you enjoy abundance, you demonstrate that it's possible and safe for others to do the same. Study the most sustainably successful people in any field, and you'll find they've mastered both giving and receiving. They're generous with their gifts and gracious in receiving others' gifts. They acknowledge their accomplishments without false modesty and accept support without feeling diminished. Research on imposter syndrome shows that people who struggle to receive appreciation and acknowledgement consistently underperform relative to their abilities. They sabotage opportunities because deep down they don't feel worthy of receiving good things. Conversely, people who can authentically receive praise and support consistently outperform their peers because they're operating from a foundation of self-worth rather than self-doubt. Studies on caregiver burnout reveal that people who are excellent givers but poor receivers inevitably exhaust themselves. Healthcare workers, teachers, and social workers who struggle to receive support have the highest rates of stress, depression, and job turnover. Those who balance giving with receiving maintain their effectiveness much longer. Neuroscience research shows that receiving genuine appreciation activates the same reward centers in the brain as physical pleasures like eating or sexual activity. Your brain is literally designed to find receiving pleasurable. When you resist it, you're working against your own neurological wiring. Research on gratitude demonstrates that people who can receive and appreciate good things in their lives experience measurable improvements in immune function, sleep quality, and overall life satisfaction. The ability to receive turns positive experiences into lasting benefits. Here's how to master receiving your own gifts. The gracious receiving practice. When someone compliments you, resist the urge to deflect or minimize. Simply say thank you and let yourself actually feel the appreciation. Practice receiving without immediately giving something back. The accomplishment. Acknowledgement. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you accomplished or contributed to, no matter how small. Train yourself to see and appreciate your own positive impact. The support acceptance challenge. For 1 week, say yes to any reasonable offer of help. Let someone carry your groceries, accept a friend's invitation to treat you to coffee, and allow a colleague to assist with a project. Notice how it feels to be supported. When you master the art of receiving your own gifts, you complete the circuit of conscious manifestation. You become someone who can give and receive in perfect balance, who can serve others while honoring yourself, who can be a beneficial presence while still receiving life's abundance. This balance creates what ancient traditions called enlightened living, not withdrawal from the world, but full engagement with it from a place of wholeness. Integration and mastery. You've now received the 7 core principles that transform seekers into receivers, strugglers into magnets, and ordinary people into conscious manifestors. The frequency of worthiness. Understanding that you deserve abundance, not because of what you do, but because of what you are. A unique expression of infinite consciousness. The paradox of detachment. Learning to hold your desires lightly, wanting from wholeness rather than needing from lack, which paradoxically makes manifestation effortless. The flow of inspired action, distinguishing between forced action that drains you and inspired action that energizes you, moving in harmony with life's natural intelligence. The field of coherent intention, aligning your thoughts, emotions, intentions, and actions so your energy becomes focused and magnetic rather than scattered and weak. The seasons of receiving, honoring your natural rhythms of expansion and rest, action and integration, which amplifies your manifestation power exponentially. The beneficial presence, becoming someone whose very being uplifts others, which causes the universe to respond with extraordinary generosity. Receiving your own gifts, graciously accepting the appreciation, support, and abundance that life wants to give you, completing the circuit of conscious flow. These aren't just techniques, they're a complete transformation of how you relate to existence itself. When you embody these principles, you stop being someone who struggles to get things from life and become someone through whom life loves to express its infinite creativity and abundance. Here's your roadmap for integrating these principles into daily mastery. Week 1-2. Foundation building. Establish daily worthiness practice, 5 minutes each morning. Begin tracking your energy cycles and seasons. Practice the coherence breath 3 times daily. Start graciously receiving at least one thing each day. Week 3-4. Deepening practice. Add detachment rituals when you notice grasping energy. Implement the energy check before all significant actions. Begin each interaction with the contribution question. Expand your accomplishment acknowledgement practice. Week 5-8. Integration phase. Combine all practices into a flowing daily rhythm. Focus on embodying a beneficial presence in all interactions. Trust your natural seasons and cycles completely. Allow your unique gifts to emerge and be received. Monthly review. Process. Ask yourself these questions each month. Where am I still operating from unworthiness or neediness? When am I forcing action instead of following inspiration? How is my presence affecting others around me? What gifts am I offering? What gifts am I receiving? How can I serve life's expression through me even more fully? The Daily Receivers Practice. Each morning spend 10 minutes in this sequence. Declare your inherent worthiness, 2 minutes. Set intentions with detachment, 2 minutes. Check your energy and align for coherence, 3 minutes. Ask how you can be beneficial today, 2 minutes. Open to receive whatever wants to come through you, 1 minute. As you integrate these principles, you'll discover that mastering the art of receiving is actually mastering the art of living itself. You'll find that abundance flows not just in the form of material things, but as opportunities, relationships, creative inspiration, synchronicities, and experiences that constantly exceed your expectations. The advanced practices involve learning to receive on behalf of others, becoming a conduit for blessings that flow through you to your family, community, and world. You'll discover that your personal receiving capacity is actually unlimited when it's connected to your desire to serve something greater than yourself. Ultimately, you'll realize that you're not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are that force expressing itself in human form. And when you fully embrace this truth, receiving becomes as natural as breathing, as effortless as the beating of your heart. Conclusion. Take a moment to appreciate the journey you've just completed. You came to this audiobook as someone seeking to understand the art of receiving, and you're leaving as someone who has the tools to become a master receiver yourself. But more than that, you're leaving with the understanding that receiving isn't just about getting what you want, it's about becoming who you truly are. A conscious being capable of experiencing unlimited abundance while simultaneously being a source of abundance for others. You now know that you don't have to earn your worthiness through achievement or sacrifice. You don't have to force outcomes through struggle and stress. You don't have to choose between serving others and receiving abundance yourself. You can live in the flow of inspired action, trusting your natural rhythms, embodying beneficial presence, and receiving life's gifts with grace. You can be both deeply generous and abundantly blessed. You can serve the highest good while experiencing profound fulfillment. The ultimate truth I want to leave you with is this. You were born to be a receiver, not in the sense of being passive or entitled, but in the sense of being a conscious collaborator with the creative intelligence that moves galaxies and grows flowers. Your desires aren't selfish. They're the universe's way of expressing new possibilities through you. Your gifts aren't accidents. They're the unique contributions that only you can make to the grand symphony of existence. Your receiving capacity isn't limited. It expands infinitely as you align with your true nature as a beneficial presence. The world needs you to master these principles not just for your own fulfillment, but because every person who learns to receive consciously makes it easier for others to remember their own receiving capacity. You become part of a growing network of conscious receivers who are literally transforming the planetary field of possibility. As you practice these principles, you'll discover that manifestation becomes less about getting specific things and more about becoming a clear channel for whatever wants to emerge through you. You'll find yourself receiving opportunities you never could have imagined, experiencing synchronicities that seem magical, and contributing to others in ways that surprise and delight you. As you integrate these teachings, expect your life to transform in ways both subtle and dramatic. Expect opportunities to appear that perfectly match your evolving gifts. Expect relationships that support and celebrate your growth. Expect resources to flow when you need them. Expect to be surprised by life's generosity and your own expanding capacity to receive and give. Most importantly, expect to become someone whose very presence reminds others of their own infinite potential. You are becoming a living demonstration that abundance, joy, and meaningful contribution are not only possible, but natural. The universe has been waiting for you to remember who you are and step fully into your role as a conscious receiver. Your time is now. Welcome to your new life as a master of the art of receiving.